came about, it's really an expansion of a platform called Echo Dementia, which focuses on providing education and networking among healthcare providers that work with people with dementia. It's funded by the state, it's run out of UW. And when we got the state funding for it, there was always the idea that we would eventually leverage this platform to also help expand dementia-friendly programs in Washington state. So that's the point that we're at right now. It does build upon prior work of a group called the Dementia Action Collaborative, which is a group that's implementing our Washington state plan for Alzheimer's disease. And it also synergizes with a movement called Dementia that some of us are familiar with, which focuses on dementia-friendly programs. And the Learning Collaborative, it does actually work to fulfill a couple different recommendations in our Washington state plan for Alzheimer's, which I like to point out, just knowing that, yes, it's something fun, it's something engaging and energizing for us, but we're also working to really implement policy at the same time. So it doesn't get any better than that. The purpose of our Learning Collaborative here is to inspire, equip, and support expansion of dementia-friendly community efforts in Washington. The first year, we plan to focus kind of under that broad umbrella of dementia-friendly communities, focusing down on dementia-friendly programs that happen in the community. We'll be focusing that way from the rest of this year and into 2022 as well. So the target audience of who are we hoping to involve in this collaborative? Well, you all are definitely our target audience, but people who organize or facilitate or participate in dementia-friendly programs here in Washington. So that might be folks that are like program coordinators or program managers who work out of organizations or volunteer out of organizations like senior centers, community centers, parks and rec, libraries, faith communities, cultural associations, arts organizations, etc. It might be people that facilitate or lead these types of programs. It might be people with dementia and family caregivers. And we have a priority on representing the diversity of our full state. We definitely got feedback. Don't make this all about Seattle. Some feedback that I got. Don't know if that resonates with folks. It's led by the UW Memory and Brain Wellness Center with funding from the state, which was secured through the advocacy of that Dementia Action Collaborative. And the folks that pulled it together are myself, Allison Schreier, who's here with us. Thanks, Allison, who's the program manager for that ECHO platform that I mentioned. Lynn Cordy, who coordinates the Dementia Action Collaborative, and Chris Oates, who's the neuropsychologist at the Memory Brain Wellness Center. Big thanks to our community advisory group. These and others were folks who volunteered to or were willing to be interviewed to give feedback about how to make this a successful group. But thank you to Cindy Fine, Jillian Jones, Jamie Clark, Jeannie Lee, Maria Holt, Mary Jane Connect, and Terry Brandley. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We also are adding in a role of dementia ambassadors, which is freed up for people with dementia or family care partners who volunteer to stay engaged in the network and provide their valuable lived experience perspective. Almost done with the PowerPoint. Thanks for hanging in there. Keep eating the popcorn. Structure. The structure of the collaborative, we picture a sweet spot of 75-minute meetings happening every other month on Zoom. They'll be facilitated and structured, making very good use of your time, having a chance to connect with people in the beginning, having a brief presentation on a theme, and several examples of whatever the theme is, showing different people or programs from around the state, and small group discussion around kind of how does this apply to you, your community, your program, etc. The kind of general guiding principle of this ECHO platform model is all teach, all learn. So we want it to be a place where there's not like one talking head, one expert. We're all experts, whether we live with dementia or whether we're organizing programs. We all have something to teach. We all have something to learn. We want there to be practical takeaways. We want it to be interactive and maybe with potential ways to connect outside of these meetings as well. Sample themes I listed here, things around virtual dementia-friendly programs. We're moving on from virtual to hybrid or live dementia-friendly programming, racial equity in dementia-friendly programming. These are some of the ones that we plan to hit on this year. Oh, that's a lot of text on this one, but our advisor said, it's important to make sure we're all on the same page around what are we talking about here, and we talk about dementia-friendly programs. So I pulled some content from the Dementia Seattle from the Dementia movement and the Dementia Seattle website. Just thinking generally about dementia-friendly programs, some of the principles that we're also using in this group is that there is life beyond a dementia diagnosis and a life that includes the possibility for joy in the midst of challenge. People living with dementia remain a vital part of the community and deserve the opportunity to stay connected and engaged. People living with dementia are the experts on their own experience, and their valuable perspective must be recognized. And by working together, we can transform what it means to live with dementia in the community, changing the story from one of despair to one of hope. What do we mean when we're talking about dementia-friendly programs this next year? So it's kind of there's a lot of things that we're not going to talk about, and there are certain things that we will talk about. So dementia-friendly programs, we're talking about programs that happen in the community, or nowadays virtual, but that are open to the public and take place in a community setting or public space like a museum, cafe, library, theater, cultural association, etc. That involve an opportunity for engagement and empowerment in the community, and that celebrate the strengths of people with dementia and include their voices. So, we're not talking about healthcare or dementia care, medical care. We're not talking about programs that happen internally within a long-term care facility. We're talking about programs that happen out and about in the community, in community spaces, or virtually that kind of replicate that type of a program, and that provide opportunity to stay engaged. So in addition, we value programs that are inclusive of and led by members of underrepresented communities. Just to give a snapshot of what am I talking about, many of us have experienced these types of programs before, but this is kind of a blast to the past, talking about things like memory cafes or Alzheimer cafes, walking groups that happen in neighborhoods, tours of museums, arts workshops in public spaces, community courses, and more, as well as the virtual equivalent. All right. So that was just a quick little intro, and I do want to just encourage, I know that a lot of folks have already RSVP'd, but our first session, official session, will be next Wednesday, June 9th from 11 to 12:15, and with the theme being navigating program transitions from virtual to in-person to hybrid, and really giving us a chance to think collectively about how are we approaching this maybe soon to be, hopefully, post-COVID world, and will we kind of maintain the virtual status quo, or will we be working toward other types of in-person or hybrid programming? So that'll be the focus next week, and we really look forward to where we'll get with our collective thinking on that. So I'm going to pause for a minute and just see if there's any quick questions on what am I talking about, or maybe the question is, why did you just give a PowerPoint presentation for 10 minutes